Hello everyone, and welcome. We often look to the cosmos for order.
For predictable beauty.
I am Groot.
Groot?
I am Groot.
In the vast, silent theater of the cosmos, amidst the predictable rhythm of orbiting worlds and the steady pulse of distant suns,
And in our
there are
quest to
whispers
find those stories,
of the truly
tireless
bizarre.
sentinel.
For 4 years, from 2009 to 2013, humanity had a dedicated ear to the sky, listening for one of the faintest of these whispers. The
method
Kepler
was
Space
beautifully
Telescope,
simple.
a solitary
A planet
hunter in the
crossing
dark,
in front of its
was
star
tasked
creates
with
a
a simple
tiny,
yet
temporary shadow.
profound mission
The shadow
to stare,
that Kepler could
unblinking,
detect as a
at a
periodic
single
dip
patch
in the
of
star's brightness.
150,000 stars in the constellation
The
Cygnus,
shadow that Kepler could
and
detect
to
as
measure
a
their
periodic dip
brightness
in the star's
with
brightness.
unprecedented precision. It was searching for the telltale sign of a planet crossing its star. A transit. A dip in starlight so minuscule, it's akin to noticing a single gnat fly across a searchlight 100 miles away. Kepler's gaze was relentless, its data stream a torrent of cosmic information. So vast was this digital river that automated algorithms, brilliant in their own right, could be overwhelmed. For this, astronomers turned to an unexpected resource: the collective power of the human eye. Through a project called Planet Hunters, tens of thousands of citizen scientists from around the world were invited to sift through Kepler's light curves. Their innate talent for pattern recognition deputized in the search for new worlds. They were looking for the orderly, repeating dips of planets on their celestial journeys. But one
They
volunteer,
found something else,
and then another,
something that broke all
and then
the
a
patterns.
chorus of voices on a forum flagged something else entirely.
In the
Something that
vast
wasn't
cosmic
orderly
theater,
at
some
all.
stars perform.
The star was catalogued as KIC 8462852, an otherwise unremarkable F-type star, slightly larger and hotter than our own sun, resting nearly 1,500 light-years from Earth. Yet its light
Quiet,
curve,
unassuming star.
the simple graph of
A
its
data
brightness
signal
over
that was
time,
anything but.
was anything
The two
but
pictures did not
unremarkable.
add up, but
It was a
the two pictures
portrait
did not
of
add up.
chaos, where the signature of a transiting gas giant, a world larger than Jupiter, would present as a clean, symmetric, U-shaped dip of perhaps 1%. This star exhibited something
Tabby
monstrous.
star shook.
In 2011, its light plunged by a staggering 15%. Then in 2013, it plummeted again, this time by an almost inconceivable 22%. A fifth of the star's light simply vanished. This was not a planet. No planet, no matter how colossal, could be large enough to block that much light without being a star itself. Furthermore, the dimming events were not periodic. They followed no discernible schedule.
The very shape of the
Their
disk was
shapes
strange,
jagged and
not the clean hue
asymmetrical,
of a solid planet.
suggesting a complex, clumpy object or swarm of objects was responsible. The first major event lasted for nearly a week. The second, a flurry of multiple sharp dips, spanned 2 months. The data was
at this
so
anomaly.
strange, the professional astronomers who investigated,
It's unlike
led
anything
by
we've
Tabitha
seen.
Boyajian, for
Could
whom the
this be
star
it?
would be nicknamed, spent over a year trying to disprove it. They scrutinized every possibility of instrument failure or data artifact. Was the telescope malfunctioning? Was another star in the background contaminating the signal? One by one, every technical explanation was eliminated. The signal, they concluded with a
Which left
mixture of
only one
excitement
terrifying,
and utter bafflement,
exhilarating conclusion.
was real. It was astrophysical. The universe had presented a profound mystery. Something
And
was
now,
passing in front
the
of
real
Tabby's
work
star.
began.
Something vast,
The investigation
opaque,
into the most
and utterly
mysterious star
unlike
in our
anything ever
galaxy.
seen before. The tidy rules of planetary transits had been shattered, leaving astronomers with a single confounding question: what is out there? The stage was set for one of the most intense and speculative investigations in modern astronomy. A hunt
evidence,
for an explanation
single
to a stellar
flickering point
dimming
of light.
that, for all
The
intents and
challenge
purposes,
to find a
should
suspect
not
that fits
exist.
the crime.
With the reality of the signal confirmed, the astronomical community faced a watershed moment. The data from KIC 8462852 was not a ghost in the machine. It was a challenge,
The
a
detectives of
gauntlet
astronomy began to
thrown
draw up
down
a
by
list
the
of
cosmos
suspects.
itself.
From the mundane,
What followed was a rigorous, globe-spanning investigation, a forensic deep dive into the physics of starlight and shadow. Astronomers became detectives, and the star's bizarre light curve was their only clue.
suspect number 1, the
A
shattered
cryptic
remains of a planetary
fingerprint
catastrophe.
left at the
Suspect
scene
number
of
2,
a cosmic
gigantic
enigma.
eccentric swarm of
Every conceivable natural suspect was brought in for interrogation, measured against the hard constraints of physics. The first and most obvious culprit was a planetary cataclysm. Perhaps in the star's distant past, two massive planets collided, shattering into a colossal field of debris. Or maybe a single giant world strayed too close to its sun and was torn apart by tidal forces. Such an event would create a vast, uneven cloud of dust and rock perfectly capable of producing the deep, irregular dips seen by Kepler. This was a
This
plausible,
debris cloud theory
if
suggests it's a
dramatic
testable
scenario.
prediction. If correct,
But every
we should
theory
observe a
carries
bright
a
infrared
testable
signature.
prediction. According to the laws of thermodynamics, any dust cloud orbiting that close to a star must absorb its energy, heat up, and re-radiate that energy as a faint glow in the infrared spectrum. A planetary collision of this magnitude would leave a luminous, infrared, smoking gun. Astronomers pointed our most sensitive infrared instruments, the Spitzer and WISE space telescopes, towards the star, expecting to see this telltale glow. They found nothing. Only the faint, expected infrared light of the star itself. The crime scene was cold. The debris field, if it existed, was not behaving as any known dust should. With the collision theory on tenuous ground, investigators turned to the next suspect, a gigantic swarm of comets. This idea held a certain elegance. Comets are not solid spheres. They are irregular, dirty snowballs that, when warmed by a star, vent enormous tails of gas and dust. A
Their long,
vast,
eccentric
eccentric
orbits
fleet
would
of
explain the
exocomets,
aperiodic nature of
perhaps
dips.
thousands of
They
them,
weren't a permanent
knocked
fixture,
from their
but a
distant
temporary
orbits
storm.
into a path
fixture,
that
but a
grazed
temporary
the
storm.
star, could theoretically create a large, translucent, and clumpy screen. This model, championed as the leading natural explanation for a time, could account for the asymmetric dips and the lack of a strong infrared signal, as the comets would only spend a short time near the star before retreating into the cold. But the sheer scale required was problematic. To block over 20% of the light from an F-type star would require an almost impossibly dense swarm, a cometary traffic jam of biblical proportions, all perfectly aligned with our line of sight. While not physically impossible, the probability of witnessing such a transient and monumental event was astronomically low.
Perhaps it
The
was
theory
star
was
spots
stretched to its
on a
breaking
scale
point.
never before imagined.
Could the problem lie not with something around the star, but with the star itself? Perhaps KIC 8462852 was undergoing some unknown internal convulsion, producing star spots on a scale never before imagined, or exhibiting some exotic form of magnetic activity that caused it to intrinsically dim and brighten. This line of inquiry, however, quickly ran into the wall of established stellar physics. Tabby's star is a mature, stable F-type main sequence star. In the stellar kingdom, it is a quiet citizen in the prime of its life, not a chaotic, eruptive youngster or a pulsating, dying elder.
This
Furthermore,
was the killer piece of evidence.
a change
the
in
dimming
brightness
was not coming
caused
from
by
the
the star itself
It was coming from
would be
something
accompanied
outside the
by a
star,
change in
made
its
of
temperature.
dust. something outside the
therefore,
star, made of dust.
its color.
And this created an impossible paradox.
As the
The
star
color of the light
dimmed,
screamed dust.
it
The
should
temperature reading
become
screamed
red.
no dust.
But multi-wavelength observations showed the opposite. When the star dimmed, it appeared to become slightly redder, meaning something was preferentially blocking its blue light. The classic signature of fine dust. The light was being filtered from the outside. The star itself was innocent. And so, astronomers found themselves in a state of profound scientific paradox. Every natural explanation was either directly contradicted by the evidence, or relied on scenarios so improbable they bordered on the fantastical. It was
Such
in
a
this
structure being
intellectual
built or
vacuum
repaired
that the most
consisted of a massive,
extraordinary
clumpy,
hypothesis
uneven swarm
was
of
given
comets.
voice. What if the object was not natural at all? Jason Wright, an astronomer from Penn State University, formally proposed what many had quietly wondered. What if we were witnessing a vast artificial structure?
If
A technology
technological
project on a
civilization had
scale
built such a
far
structure,
beyond our
it was
own,
unlikely to be
such as a
completely
Dyson
silent.
Swarm --.
So, the radio astronomer
A massive constellation of orbiting solar collectors designed to harvest a star's energy. This was the hypothesis of last resort. It fit the observational data with unnerving precision. A collection of massive, flat, opaque structures could create precisely the kind of deep, complex, and aperiodic dips observed. But an extraordinary thing demands extraordinary evidence. The scientific method required a new test. The SETI
The
Institute,
extraordinary evidence
dedicated to the
required
search
to
for
prove the
extraterrestrial
extraordinary
intelligence,
claim
turned its
simply
powerful radio
wasn't there.
telescopes toward Tabby's
The
star,
extraordinary evidence
listening
required to
intently.
prove the extraordinary claim.
If a civilization were capable of building on such a scale, it would almost certainly leak energy. In the form of communications, navigation signals, or waste heat. For weeks, they listened for a single engineered pulse, a whisper of technology from across the interstellar void. The result was a deafening, absolute silence. The mystery of the dimming light was now compounded by an eerie quiet. The data told a story of something massive and complex, yet the radio spectrum told a story of utter isolation. The investigation had reached a profound impasse. Natural explanations struggled under the weight of improbability, while the most speculative theory lacked a single shred of direct evidence. Yet, the story of Tabby's star was far from over. Science is not a discipline of easy answers.
Trajectory is holding.
It is one of
Get that dome open.
patient
Now.
observation. The end of the Kepler mission was not an end to the inquiry. It was the beginning of a new chapter, one driven by a global, grassroots fascination with this single, peculiar star. A
The
record-breaking
result was
crowdfunding campaign,
unequivocal.
led
The
by
dimming
Tabitha
was
Boyajian
not the
herself,
same across all
raised
colors.
the funds to purchase dedicated telescope time, creating a global network of eyes, both professional and amateur, all pointed at that one enigmatic spot in Cygnus, waiting. They didn't have to wait long. New dimming events occurred, and this time, humanity was ready. As the star's light began to dip, observatories around the world captured the event in real time, and crucially across the full spectrum of visible light. This multi-wavelength data provided the single most important clue since the star's discovery. The
And its
analysis was
clumpy,
definitive.
uneven structure perfectly
The
explained the
starlight
chaotic,
was not being
jagged dips
blocked
in the data.
uniformly. As the star faded, more of its blue light was being scattered than its red light. This was the key. Large, solid objects, like a planet or a hypothetical megastructure, are opaque and would block all colors of light equally. But a cloud of microscopic dust behaves differently. Just as dust in Earth's atmosphere scatters blue sunlight to make the sky appear blue, circumstellar dust will scatter the shorter, bluer wavelengths from a star, allowing the longer, redder wavelengths to pass through more easily. The culprit, it seems, is dust. An immense, uneven, and translucent cloud of fine particles orbiting the star in a strange and yet unexplained configuration. The what of the mystery was finally coming into focus. But this breakthrough only sharpened the edges of a deeper, more fundamental question: the why. Where did this colossal cloud of dust come from? It cannot be primordial, left over from the star's formation, as the star's own radiation would have cleared it out long ago. The leading theories of shattered planets or disintegrating comets still circle the investigation. But the core problems of scale and temperature remain unsolved. The presence of dust explains the mechanics of the dimming, but not its ultimate origin. And so, Tabby's star remains an object on the very frontier of our knowledge. It is a profound lesson in scientific humility. It demonstrates that our celestial catalogs, filled with billions of predictable, well-behaved stars, can still hold outliers so extreme. They challenge the foundations of our astrophysical models. This single point of light has become more than just a scientific curiosity. It is a cultural touchstone, a symbol of the grand, unsolved puzzles that still populate the cosmos. It reminds us that progress is driven not only by confirming what we expect, but by confronting, with rigor and imagination, what we cannot yet explain. The narrative of KIC 8462852 is the story of science itself. A journey from a puzzling observation to a deeper, more nuanced question. The light from Tabby's star continues its 1,500-year journey to Earth, carrying with it a story we are only just beginning to decipher. And we will continue to watch and to wonder.